to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the golf instruction podcast that helps you take control of your game. Now, here's your host, the founder of Par Breakers Golf Academy and certified Golf Channel Swing Fix instructor, Bernard Sheridan.
And it doesn't mean you're going to be overly mechanical.
Well, I know that since I've seen or have watched a lot of the stuff that's going on with 3D and with the technology that they're using now, and swing catalysts and ground forces and things like that, that it seems to me that it's really verifying what the body wants to do naturally to create its optimal swing or its optimal force.
There's no doubt about that. There's a little a 3-year-old young man born with I think a little half left right arm. His right arm.
Yeah, I've seen him.
I think you've seen that, and just a brilliant golf swing. And every single thing that I've learned, let's say from Dr. Kwan on ground forces, this kid is doing exactly as if he was taught to do it. And I'm 100% sure he wasn't taught to do it. So that's to elaborate on what you're saying. The human brain is brilliant. And if you just get out of people's way, right? A little help goes a long way. That kid's dad's helped him a little bit, right?
Yep.
He got him the right length clubs, and he probably taught him to line up, and probably worked on his grip and made sure he wasn't too far from it or too close to it. And then he just kind of got out of the way. And I think that at this stage of my golf teaching, the people who come to see me who can play a little bit. So let's say somebody that can break 80. 80% of the people I teach can break 80 on a decent golf course. When they come to see me, and then I have to work with them, let's say, whether it's a golf school for a couple of days or over a period of time, there is more unteaching than teaching. There is more getting them to not try to do something that somebody else told them or they read in a book or a magazine or something. You just need to kind of get out of people's way. And, it's not that hard. They got this stick and they got this handle, and you just have to hit this ball over there. And it's not that hard. And like somebody said today, being a critic, and I have a lot of critics, they figured this stuff out when Bobby Jones was playing. Yeah, but the problem is there was one Bobby Jones and there was one Walter Hagen, and there were about 8 other guys that could play. And nowadays we know a little bit more. And ask anybody on the web.com tour how hard it is to go from that web.com tour to the regular tour. So what you're trying to do is get rid of this, what I call folklore teaching, right? The number one folklore teacher, somebody was asking me, and I really didn't want to tell him, but I'll tell all the people watching. So if he's watching, I was trying to be nice. Hogan's golf swing. Is there anything that's been talked about more and claimed by more different camps? I was fortunate. One of my junior golfers, Brent White, grew up to be the head pro at Shady Oaks. He knew Mr. Hogan really well. And there's a director of golf / general manager, Mike Wright. Everybody sees every time they do a special on Hogan because he knew Mr. Hogan a lot, even better. Well, Brent, I kind of get a feel for what Hogan was like, from Brent, because I've heard so many stories. And Brent's a really good storyteller. Well, one of the things I can tell you for sure, if Hogan was still living, Hogan would not like all of those different groups of people saying they're teaching his swing, because I don't see it. If everybody's teaching Hogan's swing, where are all the golfers that look like Hogan?
None. There's hardly anybody on tour that looks like Hogan.
Tour? Heck, I'll just take some cat that can beat me. I don't need a tour player. Just show me, it's like, and look, no offense, Mac O'Grady's done a lot, as a player and as a teacher, but you always would hear, Morad is 60% Snead and 40% Hogan, or 80%. I never saw a Morad golf in my life that looked like Snead or Hogan. No offense to Morad, but put it to you this way: if I had that job of hiring, they hired me. My buddy Tom Ness did Jim Caviezel, the guy that played Jesus in that movie, played Bobby Jones. And
Sure.
They hired my buddy Tom Ness from Atlanta. His job was to teach him to sort of look like Bobby Jones' swing, right? They hired me to teach somebody to look like Sam Snead. I promise you, they gave me somebody that was the right physique and had the right flexibility. I'll give you somebody that looks like Sam Snead. It won't look like anybody that, supposedly was 80% Snead. And there's nothing wrong with those golf swings. Dana Dalquist has a big Moorhead background in his training, and he puts up swings of his students all the time, and brilliant looking golf swings, So I think the interesting thing, though, to look at when you're looking at how golf swings look is Patrick Reed's swing don't look anything like Jordan Spieth's swing. And Jordan Spieth's swing doesn't look anything like Bubba's swing. And Bubba's swing doesn't look anything like we were saying before, Matt Kuchar's swing. So if you take the top 20 players in the world, their swings look less alike than the top 20 players in college golf or the top 20 players in high school, junior golf right now. Now that's something. There's something there. The individuality has to come out, and the teacher can get in the way of that easier than leaving it alone, right? Like, what do you take out and what do you leave in? And that is a very hard decision for any teacher, even if you had all the scientific training in the world.
Sure, it's a fine line, and there's a lot of instructors who are teaching just a method or a style, and then there's others who are just trying to basically get the most out of the individual.
When I teach, I used to be a method teacher, so I at some point I hammered that whole method teacher thing down so much that I was going to seminars and people were saying they were doing presentation on what a method teacher is. I was going like, come on, man, I was look. I'll be honest. I beat the idea of method teaching over the head, partially because I know what the hell it is. I didn't do it to everybody, but every talented person who would give me enough time, I had this model in my head of what a golf, and I taught them to do it.
Now, what was that, Bri? Was that golfing machine? Was it?
No, it was sort of like what Ben Doyle taught us. That at the end of the day, the golfing machiners won't even claim. Ben took what he learned from the golfing machine, and he was a brilliant teacher before that. And what he taught by the time I spent thousands of hours with him was Ben stuff, right? And I didn't teach the maximum participation Ben Doyle pattern. I taught the maximum participation Brian Manzella idea pattern, slightly different,
sure.
Decent amount different. But I remember a period of time where I had like 5 guys that I would just pretty much say, you go ahead and go get your video camera. You go look at those guys. None of them came close to making it. Not even close. I mean, I got people now that I've barely helped that come, and they never had another lesson. They've come closer to making it than any of those guys. So what did I do wrong? They hit it great on a driving range. They had a leg. They had the club up their left arm way past the ball. They all, from the down the line view, did things you would think are, like things you'd want to do. But at the end of the day, that didn't make them better golfers, because who knows? I might have taken somebody who was supposed to be, more of a wide early release guy and made him into a lagger. Maybe I took somebody whose natural shot was a big high draw and I made him hit more of a low fade. So, I learned, because I'm the person, and I think you probably this way too, knowing you a little bit that I do. If you're honest with yourself as a golf teacher, you laying in bed at night, you're thinking, man, that lesson didn't go very good. Now, what did I do wrong? Why did that golfer go play in that club championship or tour school or whatever college of a junior tournament and play so poorly? They were doing so good. What could I have done better? And if you're honest with yourself, you figure that out, and you'll try to figure out, I have a deficiency in understanding X or Y or Z, and then you go out and learn that, and you try to do better next time. Sometimes you get to apply it to that person. sometimes you'll have to wait till the next one of those people come around. But I can tell you, there's no way that you could be the best teacher of all time, whatever the heck that is. And maybe that's a goofy goal, but it's always been my goal. And teach just one thing, because the Hall of Fame doesn't have just one thing. So you'd have to be the guy that, if you were out on tour, could be teaching Bubba and Kuchar right back to back.
Sure. Two completely different styles, two completely different dynamics of what they're doing. Probably ground force is probably Bubba's more vertical, and Cooch is more rotational. So they're, when you're far and away, they look totally different. I don't know body type what they're like. I've never seen them next to each other.
They're not. They're not that different. That's the thing. They're just not that different. And so I think Butch Harmon has the reputation of being that kind of teacher. But I've seen Butch Harmon teach, and I've talked to a lot of people who've watched Butch teach, and a lot of people who have worked with Butch that came to work with me. And he's not I wouldn't call him a method teacher, but he's got a lot of things he teaches everybody. You know what I mean? So.
Sure.
And so you wind up getting a situation where I think when you're a student that wants to pick a teacher for your own golf game, not to learn to teach better or whatever, but and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are golfers and not golf teachers. It's horses for courses, I remember when Luke Donald called Sean Foley, wanted him to work with him, and said, and Sean was kind of full up at the time, and he sent him to Chuck Cook. I don't think that was I wouldn't have sent him to Chuck Cook. Chuck Cook is a friend of mine, I think. He would call me a friend. I've known him for a long time. I think he's obviously Hall of Fame teacher. I'd send, if Zach Johnson was ever goofy enough to leave Mike Bender, I'd send Zach Johnson to Chuck Cook, but I wouldn't send Bubba Watson to Chuck Cook. You know what I mean? So you kind of gotta, if you're a student and you're a golfer, and you and you already a decent player, and you have a certain style, you might want to find somebody that fits that style. And I don't think there's enough thought, even at the tour player level, of, I might want to find somebody who can make this better and not teach me that. Because, at the end of the day, I've known people for a long time, that golf swings, they look the same. People's golf swings all wind up looking the same over a long period of time. And the ones who've taught themselves to do something radically different rarely improve themselves.
It's true. It's definitely true. I know that, too, that some careers have actually been foiled trying to go into a mold.
Well, everybody knows about, the golfer who was, really, really good, and then all of a sudden, just like poof, just like lost it, right? That, Ian Baker Finch is like the current guy that comes up. But back in the day, it was Marty Fleckman, when we were younger. And there's always been somebody like that. And I think the reason is they all you need is 3 wrong turns, right? So you go to somebody and say, you're not consistent because you have too much toss in your swing. So you start dragging it a little bit more. Okay, there's probably been some people that went from tossing it, excuse me, to dragging it and improved. Okay, but what if, now you're dragging it, you used to hit a high draw, it doesn't high draw anymore, so you used to aim a little right, and now it's sort of not drawn, so, maybe I need to aim straighter. Now you've made 2 decisions on top of your other swing, and then that third one will kill you. So you could probably take the person who had a little toss and thought getting more drag would be more consistent, and then he changed his aim because the ball flight was different. That third choice, if that guy decides, well, maybe I have to bend over more too. For what? You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't take much for these tour players to just, 1, 2, 3, and by that third little, not third teacher, but third little thing that they wasn't doing naturally or over, by the time they got to be a tour player. And then, what you get, and I've had an opportunity at a couple of these guys, is you get these damaged goods guys to show up, to teach. And, there's so much unteaching, it's really hard to get anywhere, I know that Randall Chambly, who likes to criticize teachers, and that's his job. No problem with that. I'd like to have that job. I think I'd be better